just want to welcome all of you here today. So I want to compliment those that are in this class for 2 credit hours. I have been reviewing. Some of you have said, hey, my business plan, or not my business plan, my business idea submission that you do each week hasn't been graded, and that's true. Some of those aren't graded. Some of you are fine and yours have been graded. Some of yours haven't been graded. I'm working through all of those constantly, and it's been slower a little bit, partly because some of these are really awesome ideas. And I get sucked into them, and I go to the internet, and I'm like, is that being done? That's a great idea. I wonder where is that being done? So I want to compliment you. A lot of our students, when we taught this class, we sometimes go several semesters in before we actually have people submitting what I think are really super creative, innovative ideas. You guys are only 3 weeks in, and I'm getting these really cool ideas. So keep that up. Nothing's too crazy. Just keep it up. I like that innovative thinking. It's my privilege to introduce today's presenter, Spencer Quinn, and his engineering cousin, Eric Child, formed FiberFix in 2012 and launched the company. Partly out of the frustration of those sticky epoxies that you might have to use to repair something, but partly out of the fact that duct tape just isn't strong enough, and they found a perfect solution and brought it to market. And then in the next year, in the summer of the following year, they appeared on Shark Tank. How many of you watched Shark Tank? Okay, so they appeared on that. Some of you may have seen them there, crushing cinder blocks with pieces of wood wrapped in FiberFix. My favorite scene from the episode. Well, they obtained substantial funding that helped propel their business into more growth. And then in the latter part of that year, Mr. Quinn also was recognized as he won the honor of being the Global Student Entrepreneur. There's a Global Student Entrepreneur Award. It's a competition that he entered, and he won that and got with that the accolades that go along with it and $150,000 prize. So later in the semester, when there's a business plan competition that you all hear about, remember that and take the time to put a plan together and enter the contest. That, I think, is coming up a little later in the semester. It'll be announced. With that, I'd like you all to welcome Mr. Spencer Quinn.
Testing. Okay. Well, hey, it's great to be out here today. This is my first time at Snow College, and it looks like we have a really good group, and I really like your guys' campus. I think it's beautiful, and I like how everything's nice and close. I wish I didn't have to sprint from class to class at my campus. A little bit of background on myself. Again, my name's Spencer. I grew up in Chandler, Arizona. And when I was really young, I guess I was always interested in entrepreneurship, but really didn't realize it at the time. I remember wanting a certain pair of Theodora soccer cleats, and I went and asked my dad if I could get those soccer cleats, and he said, those are way too expensive, but you're going to have to find some way to get your own money to get those cleats. And so I went and bought a big 5-gallon jug of Thompson's water seal, and I walk around our neighborhood, and I just knock on people's doors and ask if they need to have their side gates stained. And then when I got into college, I heard about the business plan competitions, and I just thought that was really, really intriguing, really cool idea, and I wanted to try and start my own business when I was in college, and I tried making an energy bar, and that's the image that's in the top left-hand corner here. And I call it the Stark Energy Bar. It was the world's best tasting energy bar, had a ton of natural ingredients in it, but unfortunately that business really flopped. I was trying to source ingredients from all over the world to make something unique and differentiated, but learned through hard knocks that there's a difference between blue ocean and red ocean strategies. I was competing in a very crowded market, and the Stark bar had no chance. And then I went and I was actually working for a startup that many of you may have heard of before. It's called KT Tape. And it's a special athletic sports tape that you may have seen in the Olympics with the Olympians that have all the different patterns on their shoulders or on their backs that helps them recover from injuries faster. And it was actually while working at that startup that I was exposed to an experience from a doctor who had used medical casting tape to repair an ATV. And before I get going kind of into the story behind FiberFix, I wanted to show just a brief introduction to what is our product via a new video that we're releasing online here soon.
FiberFix is 100 times stronger than duct tape. Find the fixes.
So the reason why I shared that video is we basically, when we were thinking about starting a tape company after hearing the story about the doctor, we just saw there was a need for a type of tape that was actually a lot stronger than duct tape. Duct tape isn't waterproof, unbeknownst to many people, and it's very flexible, and there's a lot of different types of repairs that need to be done by customers that after a tape is wrapped around it, it needs to not flex again. And so that's kind of where we saw our niche in the market. And after hearing the story about the doctor who had used casting tape to repair an ATV, we just started thinking of all the different things you could use casting tape for to repair around the house. And so we literally went to my cousin's house and we just started breaking things in his home. And everything from the hose outside to the hose around the sink, different things in his garage, different tools. And we started designing different versions of tape. We realized that casting tape wasn't going to cut it. Casting tape is designed for the medical profession. It's designed to be lightweight and porous so you can get air to your skin while your bone's healing. It's not meant to be waterproof. Casting tape isn't meant to bond to anything, but what we found we needed was something that could bond to woods, metals, and plastics. And if we were going to use this tape to repair something like a shovel or a hammer, we needed to make sure that it was going to be shock resistant. So if we were going to put it on a hammer and experience shock in use, that the tape wouldn't delaminate and then slide off. And this slide here just kind of shows the validation process we were using. We went and spoke with about 5,000 customers face-to-face, just talking about potential uses that they could have for a product like this. And this is before we manufactured our final product or spent thousands of dollars on inventory. We just went and validated the market first. We went and talked to store owners, asking if they had a product like this, what customers were asking for in terms of the most common repairs for tapes. And that's kind of how we started to develop FiberFix. It wasn't something that just came to us overnight. It wasn't something that, I wish I could say that I had dozen chemicals in my pipettes and was able to just come up with the formulation right off the bat. It was honestly a lot of trial and error, a lot of tweaking, and it was something that came through a process. And these slides here, I just wanted to show all, as we started validating the market, we saw so many potential uses for a product like this in hardware, in automotive, and the home, inside the office, even for arts and crafts. We saw uses in farm and feed, the pool specialty, and this is all just from talking to potential customers, kind of listening to them, listening about their problems, and realizing there's probably more applications for a product like this than we realized initially. Sporting goods, camping gear, and even the military. And once we had kind of validated that there was a potential market for this, we took we did a very, very small run of our first round of FiberFix, and we took it to a local trade show. And if any of you are working on consumer products, trade shows are a really great way to validate the demand for your product and to validate different price points and different offerings. We went to a University Mall University Mall show that was in Provo, and honestly, that show was not a good fit for us. But we learned a lot about how we'd have to position the product. We learned about some potential customers at that show. Then we went to the International World Ag Expo that was held in California. It was a very cheap show to go to. We called my grandpa, asked if we could borrow his RV, put in our 500 boxes of FiberFix, and drove down to some remote location in California. And we just did demos while we were at the show. And we didn't have any money after getting those first round of FiberFix done. And everyone at that show was giving away free samples. And we're like, how can these companies survive giving away free samples of their products? Like, we have to count our pennies here. And so we were selling our samples, and we were just doing demonstrations with what we could spare. And we realized we were really onto something when we had this circle of people that would gather around our booth, and we would do these demonstrations, and then right after we do a demonstration, people would take their wallets out and be willing to pay. And that's the moment when you know you're onto something, is when people are willing to pay for your product. Don't ever spend a lot of money into an idea until you validated that people are willing to pay. And that was a big moment for us. It was when we realized we had a business. We walked away from that show with a couple $1,000s, and we just thought we had the coolest business in the world, but we still had a lot to do and a lot to do to grow. So when we got back from that show, we started studying retail and realized in retail there's lots of displays. We wanted to make a display for FiberFix. So we came up with our first offering. It's just an 18-piece countertop display. It was a really low price point for store owners, so we could call these Ace Hardware stores. And in the hardware market in the US, it's about 50% mass retail store chains like your Home Depot and your Lowe's. And then the other 50% is actually franchise corporation stores like Ace Hardware, where there's 5,000 stores, but you can't talk to one buyer to get in all the stores. You actually have to call each store individually. And so making a really low price point, something that was really convenient that fit in their stores, was a way that we were able to introduce FiberFix into the Ace Hardware stores. Ace Hardware had their own show, so we signed up for the show, realizing that FiberFix was a good fix and a good fit for this market. And after that show, we got into about 200 Ace Hardware stores. Super excited once again. And so we, when we got back to Utah, we started a little call center. And you guys might be asking yourself, at the end of this presentation, we'll have time for Q&A. I'm kind of jumping around here. But you might be asking yourself how we were able to fund some of this. It was honestly through business plan competitions through the university that we were able to get a couple tens of thousands of dollars to help us hire our first employee, help us get our first run of FiberFix done. And we literally took a list of all the Ace Hardware stores in the US with all their phone numbers, and we hired some students from the university that had experience with call center and sales, and we just called every one of those Ace Hardware stores. Then we started to design a program for Home Depot, and for for mass retail, it's hard for small companies, new products to get into stores because they don't trust you. There's not a lot of validation when you're just in small independent hardware stores. And so Home Depot agreed to do a 200 store test with us, where they basically chose a region in the US. They gave us a 54-piece display. We were able to fill that display with our product and see how it did before they rolled us out to all the Home Depot locations. That's just a picture of it in store. And this just shows our company back in 2013. We had gone into about 800 locations. That included the Ace Hardware stores in our 200 store test at Home Depot. And during this time, everyone was saying, you guys need to go on Shark Tank. And I honestly had never really heard of Shark Tank. And then I went and watched a few episodes of it online, and I was like, okay, that's a crazy show. Like, we're never going on Shark Tank. Like, there's just these entrepreneurs with great ideas that totally get taken advantage of by these investors, and sometimes they have a good outcome, and other times it ruins their lives. But people kept on pushing this, and someone actually submitted our company for us without us knowing to Shark Tank, and Shark Tank called us and said, hey, we received your submission. And I'm like, what? We didn't submit to Shark Tank. And they said, well, we like your product and want you to do a video pitch. And so we sent them a video pitch, and then they flew us out to Hollywood to pitch to the producers of the show, not the actual sharks you see on TV, but the people that are in charge of the show, ABC. And we presented there, and they tell you when you get there, or you start to realize that Shark Tank's all about entertainment. Either you're a hero or you're a train wreck. And those both make great TV. And so when you get there, you start asking yourself, do they think we're the train wreck or the hero? And we actually had a good experience on Shark Tank, and I'll show you just a little clip from our pitch on Shark Tank.
First into the tank are entrepreneurs from Utah who are hoping their product will become an everyday household fix-it tool.
Hi Sharks, I'm Eric Child.
And I'm Spencer Quinn.
And we are FiberFix.
FiberFix?
FiberFix! FiberFix! We're looking for $90,000 for 10% of our company. FiberFix is the world's strongest repair wrap. In fact, it is 100 times stronger than duct tape. To show you just how strong it is, we created this beautiful hammer made of 2x2s wrapped together with FiberFix. This awesome hammer is so strong that it can break through cinder block.
I don't believe it.
You're gonna believe it.
Hi-ya! Hi-ya!
Oh. Whoa! Stop the madness.
And it gets better. FiberFix saves you time and money. And now you can fix things that you could not fix before. And you can fix things with less money. Leaky pipe? FiberFix it. Broken tool handles? FiberFix it. Cracked your hockey stick? Okay, everyone say it with me now. What are we gonna do? FiberFix it!
Even broken furniture. This stool was broken in 2 places. Just wrapped it, sanded it, painted it. FiberFix!
Now, Sharks, I'd like you to take a look at these samples that we have here of the product.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Kevin.
Sharks, FiberFix is taking off. So who's ready to FiberFix it?
So, again, that show's all about entertainment, and you can tell that's not how I am all the time. But on TV, you have to be like 150% just to like seem normal. So after Shark Tank, we had a huge spike in our online sales and retail sales as well. We got to about 20,000 locations in 2014. We literally had Lowe's call us right after the episode aired and said, I want to put you guys in all the stores, but whatever you do, don't sell to Home Depot. We've already been selling to Home Depot. And let's see, I've got some pictures here. This is just our online orders. We had this big covered semi come to pick up our orders, and we took them to USPS, and they said, USPS said, sorry guys, you have too many boxes, like we can't ship these for you. And we were just like, what? Like, we keep you in business, and you're saying, you're turning away your customer? But basically, it's just too complicated for them to sort that many packages in a reasonable amount of time, so they asked us to pre-sort all of the boxes based off area code that's going to the United States, and you actually get a nice discount with that. So we still like USPS. So we developed this program for Lowe's. I would love to talk with anyone after, or feel free to email me after the presentation if you have questions about working with retailers and design displays. I think that's a stumbling block for a lot of entrepreneurs. We had experience with previous businesses to be able to pull this off, but retail programs is really, really important aspect of consumer products, retail distribution. Lowe's agreed to give us what's called the Innovation Tower, where they give us this really tall tower in all of their stores, and they had our product right next to it and a really nice video going to showcase the product. And this is just it's another short Shark Tank clip, but it kind of shows what happened in that year after a year after we aired on Shark Tank.
This season, we watched Eric Child and Spencer Quinn strike a deal with Lori Grenier for their multi-purpose repair product, FiberFix.
Lori, you have a deal.
Good.
Let's see what they're up to now.
Prior to Shark Tank, we'd only done about $300,000 in sales, but since Shark Tank, in only 3 months, we've done almost $6 million in sales nationwide. Look at that, 10,000 units. One of the reasons we decided to partner with Lori is because we knew she brought a ton of expertise in home shopping.
Here we go, look at this.
That was FiberFix.
Unbelievably strong, this stuff.
The day after Shark Tank aired, we were able to get into one of the most coveted positions on QVC.
We have now taken orders for over 10,000 kits.
And we're able to sell through 45,000 rolls of FiberFix in only 10 minutes.
We have sold out of everything that we brought in.
Hey, we gotta get 2,000 boxes out today. Can we do it? Yeah! We've had so much demand since Shark Tank that we've had to move into this 8,200 square foot facility, and we now have a dedicated factory that's producing over 10,000 rolls of FiberFix every day.
FiberFix can now be found in Home Depot, Ace Hardware, True Value, and many other retailers nationwide.
We like to think that we're continuing the tradition of American innovation. It's awesome to be able to create jobs and provide a living wage for lots of employees. Our most exciting news yet is the deal that Lori helped us put together with Lowe's. We're rolling out to all 1,800 stores nationwide.
Don't you all love it?
Hey, look over here!
I've never seen a product like this one. There's nothing else out there like it. This is mandatory for everybody to have in their home. I think FiberFix is going to be enormous.
Doing our deal with Lori has collapsed 3 to 5 years of growth in just a few months. It's been an amazing ride so far, and we're excited to see what the future holds.
So again, we went on a program called QVC. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. I hadn't heard of it beforehand. It's a show that usually is just selling fashion accessories and jewelry, but has started to do some innovative consumer products as well. And we went on that show, and in 10 minutes we sold through 45,000 units of FiberFix. Basically everything that we had already sent them, everything that was on the way. And so what we learned at that time was that our market studies had shown that we actually had a predominantly male audience that was interested in this product. But QVC caters to a predominantly female audience. And what we didn't realize is that a lot of times, even if women weren't buying FiberFix for themselves, they were buying FiberFix to give to somebody else. And so it was a mistake that we made early on, and I just encourage you to really make sure you do all the research you can on customers, and not only who your end customer is, but kind of the process in which your products or your services might end up with your customers. Again, we went through lots of different business plan competitions. I can't stress enough the importance of participating in those. Even if you know you're not going to win, do the competitions, because you validate so many things about your business. We had no idea if we were going to win the first competition. In fact, we didn't. We didn't do very well at all at our first competition. And those competitions are very valuable because you have judges there that give you critical feedback. A lot of times those judges are professors who have been studying for years about certain industries, or they are entrepreneurs with experience in the field that can give you leads, they can give you connections, they can help you identify your cost structure and see things that you may have missed. We participated in, and if you're interested in competitions, I recommend writing all these down, because sometimes they're kind of hard to find. These are some of the bigger ones we found. Harvard's business model competition. There's Utah's most likely to be the successful. There's a lot of competitions through a group called EO, which just stands for Entrepreneurship Organization. It's also known as GSEA. But those are great competitions. Again, even if you don't win, you will learn stuff that will help you win other competitions. Or even if you don't end up taking anything away but knowledge, or just knowing that you're in the wrong business, that knowledge is very, very valuable to help you start something different or just tweak your business model. On this slide, I just wanted to show that all the success we were having wasn't just from Shark Tank. We were really aggressive with our approach to PR and marketing. We were on the Blaze, we were on KSL, we were on lots of news stations here in Utah and outside of Utah. We were targeting them heavily to get FiberFix out there because we have a demonstrable product. You don't really understand FiberFix until you see someone use it. And then it's like, oh, okay, like I could totally use that. And so knowing that about our product, we were targeting TV station or news stations aggressively. I don't know how, but we ended up on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. They didn't even let us know that we were going to be on. They showed up, and then everyone was telling us afterwards, like, yeah, we saw you guys on Jay Leno yesterday. We're like, oh no, what happened? But it was actually a fun episode. Excuse me, I'm a little sick from some international travel last week. After we launched the initial FiberFix product, something important to know about retail is that your initial launch may be really good, but if you're going to be a retail product, if you want your product on the shelf, you need to have a long-term strategy about how to take over a section of that shelf. Because you don't want to just be one product on a shelf of hundreds, but you want to be a section of that retail shelf dedicated to just your products. And so we started coming up with some other types of products. I won't spend too much time going into the details of those. Feel free to visit our website. I'm glad to talk to you. Any specific questions you have about it. But again, just kind of letting you know what our long-term strategy was, is to take over a whole section of the store. So after we were off those promotional displays, that we had a place in the store that would help us sell products. And these are the types of displays we're trying to move into stores right now that showcase the FiberFix brand versus just that initial FiberFix repair wrap product. Today we're in over 30,000 locations. We've expanded internationally. FiberFix sells great internationally because again, it's a pretty easy to use product. It's very demonstrable, so you can show people even if they speak different languages, they get it. So there's a big need for it. And right now, that's my primary focus in the company. I focus mostly on the international distribution. Last week I was in Turkey and South Korea and Malaysia. And I don't recommend anyone visit 3 distinct time zones like that in 1 week, but we're able to get some great business for FiberFix. Again, we're in over 30 countries. A lot of people ask, how do you, like, if you can't get on TV or if I'm not on Shark Tank, like, how am I going to launch my business? I think YouTube is an excellent resource. It's a free way to get yourself out there. We have over 2.5 million views related to FiberFix that are on YouTube right now. We have created 300 of those videos, but that only makes up 21% of the videos that are online. 79% of the videos that are out there are actually user-generated. And so if you can get people using your product or talking about your service and help generate some video content, shareable content out there, that's a great, very low-cost way that you can raise awareness about your product. These are just some of the new products we've made. We've made a FiberFix patch, a version of the product that goes really high temperature, a type of pen that dispenses, it's great for small repairs. It dispenses a resin that needs an activator, so it won't cure until you actually spray it with the liquid that comes out of the other side of the pen. Another type of pen that actually needs UV light to cure the resin that comes out of it. And while building FiberFix, we have created a platform that sells products really well into the hardware space. And so we've even taken some completely unrelated products that are still hardware, but may have a completely different set of uses and fixes to kind of leverage our our presence inside the hardware market to get these products out there. And some of these you actually may recognize that they are from Shark Tank. But again, after you get your first product out there, if you watch really closely, your customers are going to tell you where you need to innovate. And that could be problems with your existing product or just types of things that your product doesn't do. And innovation, to me, is the funnest part of being an entrepreneur, making observations about problems and trying to make a solution that fits. And I think you'll find as you get out there and talk to customers and you introduce different products that customers are usually pretty honest and direct about where your product's failing to help you come up with new products or to change your existing. So I'd like to take some time for questions. If you have any questions that we can't get to in this session, feel free just to email me directly. I don't mind if you give me a call. Just try and keep it between 8 and 5. And thank you for inviting me out here, and I'm about to take questions at this time. Question in the back?
All right, so obviously, like, you went on Shark Tank and everything, but you were having, like, success before. But say, like, if you didn't get into it, because I actually follow the show quite a bit. Like, weren't you guys about to walk out off set, like, while filming or something like that? Is that right, or?
Yeah, so
okay.
Your question is just kind of...
Well, no, not yet. I mean, I was just making sure like that was right. So, like,
yeah, you're good.
But if you didn't go on Shark Tank, like, would your success be different, or like, did you have a model that would take you to where you are eventually?
For sure. So his question was basically, if we hadn't been on Shark Tank, like, will we have gone to where we are right now, or would it have? How would it have impacted our business? So Shark Tank. The effect of Shark Tank was that it collapsed our growth. It made it into a really concentrated amount of time. So our strategy before was to go through retail, approaching the indies, and then leveraging the success with the independent market, like with Ace Hardware Stores and True Values, to get into the mass retailers, and then get out. But that was probably a 3-year process. And Shark Tank kind of collapsed that into 1 year, because suddenly 8 million people knew about our product within the 10 minutes they were watching about Shark Tank. And that kind of created, I will say, an artificial demand that helped us get out there quickly. And then we were able to scale accordingly. So yes, we did have a strategy that would have gone there thus eventually, but Shark Tank kind of sped that up.
How did you go from the original medical casting tape to the modified FiberFix?
Okay, so
you said you needed to bond it and then change a lot of the chemistry, right?
For sure, yeah. So the question was, how do we go from medical casting tape to what FiberFix is now? So we honestly started just by ordering a bunch of samples of medical casting tape. And we tried repairing them, and we're just analyzing where medical casting tape was good and where it wasn't. After we had validated where we needed to improve, we actually reached out to some manufacturers of medical casting tape and kind of pitched them on this idea that we had, that we wanted to make a tape that was similar to what they're already making, but that we wanted it to bond to wood, metals, and plastics. We wanted it to be waterproof. And so we kind of were brainstorming with them what changes would need to take place to make that happen. Now, unfortunately, those manufacturers thought we were crazy because we were taking an existing market that is actually low volume, high profit, and we were trying to make a high volume, lower profit type of tape. And so we learned a lot working with those manufacturers, but eventually we ended up having to take what we had learned from that and go start our own little factory. And so initially it was just different versions of medical casting tape until we had tweaked and found where we needed to go with the tape and realized that the current manufacturer wasn't going to support us with that. And then we were able to pitch that to foreign factories to help us create the machine that we would need to create our product. And so we do all of our sourcing and manufacturing overseas in China. That may be seem a little backwards to some people, but the R&D cost a lot of times for entrepreneurs here in the US is really, really expensive. Not for all products, but for ours, it would have cost us a couple $100,000 to get someone to actually work with us through all of that validation. and then in the end actually making a machine that can make our product. So since we had validated the demand for the product, it was easy to convince someone to help us make the machine because they saw the vision. But if we had done that backwards, no one would have been interested in making our product.
What's your relationship with duct tape?
Our relationship with duct tape? That's a really good question. He asked what our relationship with duct tape is, and honestly, I don't know. I don't even know if they know. I'm sure they know we exist now, but yeah, we say, well, so notice that we say 100 times stronger than duct tape. We don't say 100 times stronger than duct tape. The brand, duct tape, is probably not someone we want to go head to head with. But we say duct tape, and it's a truthful statement. The reason why we did that was because sometimes to raise awareness about a new product, you either have to show everyone perfectly what you're doing or try and displace an existing product. Duct tape serves a completely different set of repairs. And so when someone looks at our product and they have never used it before in the past, we don't want them to think it's just another roll of tape. So I say 100 times stronger than duct tape, and you're like, okay, how so? So it's kind of a marketing gimmick there. But as of now, I think we're good with duct tape, but we'll find out.
So you, not very long ago, you were where all of these students are. Hasn't been that long ago. And so, to the extent that you're comfortable, I don't want you to do anything you're not comfortable with, but can you share with them what kind of a difference, how has it impacted your life personally to start a business that has grown rapidly and required a lot of your attention? How did it impact? I mean, you mentioned travel.
Yeah.
You were a student at one time. You were, I don't know, you're just like them, but you're doing this. So how has it impacted?
For sure. So the question was just basically how life has changed since starting FiberFix, and specifically like life as a student. So I helped start FiberFix with a team of 4 others while I was in school, and I was studying biotechnology and genetics, and I was interested in doing a minor in business strategy. And FiberFix was just a side project. Again, I thought the business plan competitions were cool. I wasn't expecting it to like really take off, like at least at the speed that it did. And I realized when we started selling FiberFix that there was a good business opportunity here. There's a phrase up there that says like, when the flowers are in bloom, you should probably pick them. And I realized that I wasn't going to be able to keep on taking all the classes I was at school. And I'm not encouraging anyone to drop out of school to pursue entrepreneurship, because I personally felt that my classes were the reason why I was able to avoid a lot of mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs make at the beginning. And I had a lot of professors who actually, when they heard about what I was doing on the side, kind of went out of their way to make sure that I had not only what we were going over in class, but some extra material I could study on my own to help me with FiberFix. Unfortunately, my major had lots of labs. I love genetics, but I couldn't spend 3 or 4 hours a week inside the lab, so I had to switch my major. I switched it to Spanish, and I completed my business strategy minor, but then actually was not able to finish my major at school, and I'm actually still in school, taking 3 online classes. I average about 1 class every semester right now. So maybe a little more personal than that. I feel like a lot of people, there's this perception in the world today that if you are an entrepreneur, you are a slave to your business. And while that might be true at some times, I don't feel like that means you should get rid of your personal life. And so during this time, I felt I had kept a great relationship with family. I was actually working with some family on this project. I worked with my cousin, and I got married during this time. And I feel like if you're working with a team, a dedicated team, rather than trying to do everything yourself, then you're going to be able to disperse that work to make it so that people can still live and do business and have fun at the same time. So when you are coming up with cap tables and stuff, keep that in mind. I mean, it's definitely important to hold on to as much of your business as you can for as long as you can, but there's going to come a time where you need to identify the people that can make the biggest impact in your business, and it will be a big service to you to give part of your business away to those people, because that will distribute the workload and it's going to make a big impact on how far your business is able to grow. I could not have grown FiberFix to where it is today myself. Yeah.
So I was actually at the International Ag Expo.
Okay.
I was one of the people that paid money to buy your product.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Not much customers, I guess. But it was a lot of fun, and it was actually the most fun expo demo I saw in the entire expo.
Okay.
But actually, one of the business questions that my students wanted me to ask the question is, if I buy a roll of FiberFix, can I actually use it at different times, or do I have to use all of it at once?
That's a great question. And so FiberFix is a one-time use. So you open it up, you dip it in water, you wrap around something, and then it hardens after 8 minutes. But if you open up the package and you have 2 things you need to repair, then you need to repair both of those items after you've opened the roll of FiberFix. Because it's water activated, even if you don't dip it in water, you just want to try and save it for later, it can take water out of the air. And so when we first launched FiberFix, that was actually a concern that a lot of customers had. Is like, this is a one-time use product. It's not like the typical roll of tape that I've used in the past. And so the way we had to solve that was we actually had to release multi-packs of the product so that customers that were using it for the first time wouldn't be disappointed in the product. So.
You mentioned several times validating the need or the want to buy an investment before you move forward a lot.
Yeah.
How did you may have already explained this, how did you do that? How did you validate the things that you decided? Was there any addition to the meetings and the conferences that
Yeah, so for me, I feel that the most important thing you can do is just have face-to-face interviews. And it's okay to have face-to-face interviews with some family and friends initially, just to kind of litmus test your idea. But after you think you're onto something, please get out of that circle as quickly as possible, because your friends and family are going to kind of be biased for you. And so you need to talk to people that you've never met before, that are potential customers, and ask them questions about this problem or pain you're trying to solve, and make sure that you're developing something that actually meets that. So asking questions like, what is the most you'd be willing to pay for a product like this? Or is there a need? Or what products or services do you use to solve this problem currently are great ways that you can get some good information.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen FiberFix used for?
Elephant tusks. We had a zoo call us and asked if it would kill the elephant if it was toxic, basically, if they wrapped it around the elephant tusks. And we said no, FiberFix has been designed to be non-toxic. We have lots of data sheets that show it wouldn't hurt a person or an animal. However, we asked them, please send us a picture of that application. And they never sent us a picture. So that's the craziest application I've heard of, but I did not actually see the picture of it. I saw some other hands up back here.
So where do you want the business in the next 10 or 20 years?
Where do I see FiberFix in the next 10 or 20 years? So we said on Shark Tank that we want FiberFix to be a household brand. And as much as we like to say that that's happened in the first year or the first 3 years, that's a really long process. To be widely known as something like Febreze that is known in most households, that's probably a 10-year process. And so that's where we like to be, as a household brand in every major retail store, something that people think of when something breaks. And that has a lot to do with mind share. And so mind share is something that takes a long time to build up through lots of marketing efforts. And I'd like to see that mind share increasing internationally as well. But basically a household brand in the US, and then something that you can find anywhere in hardware stores internationally.
So when you were talking to the manufacturers and talking about the idea, were you worried that someone was going to steal it?
Was I worried if someone was going to steal the idea?
Yeah.
Okay, so while developing the product, was I worried that someone was going to steal their product idea, especially while working with manufacturers? Yeah, most definitely. I'm always scared of that. But something to keep in mind, too, with that is that even though there will always be people that are out there that are trying to knock other cool products off. That's all they are, is a knockoff. And they lack drive, they lack dedicated teams to help those products get out there. And so, although I was worried, I realized that we had so much momentum going inside our team that it was going to be very hard, if not impossible, to knock off what we were doing. And we have run into knockoffs, sadly. We've run into a couple of them. And I don't recommend, when you have an idea, to go and immediately get that idea patented. But once you start making sales, then you really should start looking into getting some good IP, built-in trademarks and different patents so that you can enforce that. And we have been enforcing that IP internationally with knockoffs. And we haven't found a credible threat, but it's always good just to be conscious of them and make sure that you're always ahead of the game. The best thing you can do is just move as quick as you can. Just if you're a consumer product, just get into as many stores as you can, because when knockoffs come, it's very easy to tell a buyer, obviously they knocked us off. We've been around with you guys for the last 2 years, and it's easy for the buyer to turn away. So obviously, and the buyers for consumer products don't want to get involved in some legal battle between an original product and knockoffs, and so they're very scared when a knockoff comes and you tell them, like, hey, we've been with you, like, do we need to show you our patent or anything? And those like, no, we won't talk to them. So. Any other questions? Over here.
How do you feel about Kickstarter campaigns?
How do I feel about them? Yeah. I think Kickstarters are phenomenal. I feel like everyone here should be doing a Kickstarter. Oh, I mean, I think you'll always find people that are trying to knock other ideas off of other people, but with Kickstarter though, if you launch your Kickstarter the right way, hopefully you are $100,000 to $1 million ahead of whatever knockoff that's trying to do that. You should have the funds after launching your Kickstarter to be able to file some very basic IP to help defend you from knockoffs. So again, I feel like everyone should do a Kickstarter, even if you're not doing consumer products, just to be aware of that process. It's just an incredible process tool that's available to entrepreneurs today. I'm working on a Kickstarter as a side project with my wife right now, because my wife is an artist, and I'm showing her how she can use Kickstarter to launch a card game, and I think it's an awesome resource.
Is FiberFix at all a flexible product, or is it hard of the product?
So FiberFix, the question was if FiberFix was flexible at all. No, it doesn't flex at all. You can use it on a host, because even though you're going to sacrifice a little bit of flexibility in that part of the host, the overall host still works just fine without that flexibility. But it's not meant to flex at all. We've considered making a FiberFix Flex, but we haven't got there yet. So. One last question.
So through all the different competitions you went to and all the feedback you got from the judges, what was one of the most common concerns that they brought up about FiberFix?
About FiberFix?
Yeah, FiberFix, yeah.
So his question was, what was the most common concern we got through the business plan competitions? That's a really good question. I'm trying to think back to... Okay. So one problem we had that was unique to our company was that there is a lot of fast-growing companies grow themselves into bankruptcy. And so we had a lot of questions about whether or not we actually understood the costs that were involved with supporting some of these retail accounts, and how we were going to prepare for the logistics costs that were involved. Because if you get an order from Home Depot for $4 million or $2 million of product, that means you probably have in your own costs anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. And if you're a brand new company, how are you going to work that out to be able to pay your manufacturer and get that product in the U.S.? So that was a really common concern. And we were very fortunate to have a member on our team that was able to help finance a lot of those orders without taking more equity in the company. But it's definitely something to be careful of. It's good to grow fast, but if you're growing too fast, you can actually cause more harm than good for your own company. Okay? Well, hey, thank you.
We really appreciate your generosity coming down and sharing that with us today while you're still trying to catch up on sleep and traveling the other side of the world. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.